Clayton Mercer heard the crying before he saw the smoke. The January wind cut through his wool coat, sharp and cold, as his horse climbed the last ridge toward Two Creeks Ranch. Snow lay thick across the land, untouched except for one thing that stopped his breath. Smoke rose from the chimney of the ranch house. That should not have been possible. Clayton had bought the property 3 months earlier, paid $8,000 in cash, locked the place tight, and ridden east to Chicago to sell cattle. No one was supposed to be there. The ranch had been empty, abandoned, silent. The crying grew louder as he dismounted. A child's sobs, raw and scared, carried through the cold air. His boots crunched over ice as he walked toward the door. He smelled wood smoke mixed with something sharp and bitter, medicine, the kind doctors used. Clayton pushed the door open. A little girl knelt beside a woman lying on a bed made of flour sacks. The girl spun around, eyes wide with fear. She scrambled to her feet and stepped in front of the woman like she was shielding her from danger. "Please don't call the law," the girl said. Her voice shook. "Mama's too sick to move." Clayton stayed where he was, cold air at his back, firelight warming his face. The woman on the bed looked young, no more than 30, but illness had hollowed her cheeks. She clutched a cloth spotted with blood. Each breath came fast and shallow. The girl couldn't have been older than 10. Her dress was thin and worn, her hands red from cold. Still, she stood firm, eyes locked on Clayton like a guard dog protecting what little it had left. "How long you been here?" Clayton asked gently. 3 weeks, the girl said. "We ain't thieves." The place was empty. Mama couldn't walk no more. Clayton looked around. The floor had been scrubbed clean. The cracks between the logs were packed with fresh clay. Dried herbs hung from the rafters. Someone had cared for this place. His eyes caught on something near the window, a brass surveyor's chain coiled neatly on a nail. His father's chain. His chest tightened. "You find that in the barn?" he asked. The girl nodded. "Looked important, so I cleaned it." The woman coughed then, deep and wet, a sound Clayton knew too well. He had heard it years ago when his young son had been sick. The memory hit hard. "She needs a doctor," Clayton said. "We can't pay," the girl said quickly. "We got nothing." Clayton thought of the bank draft in his saddlebag. $47,000 from the cattle sale. More money than most men saw in a lifetime. "Stay here," he said, and turned back into the wind. The ride to town took an hour. Doc Erasmus Pike was setting a broken finger when Clayton burst into the surgery. "Need you at Two Creeks," Clayton said. Woman with consumption. Bad. Doc Pike finished his work before answering. Moving her could kill her. "Then don't move her," Clayton said. "I'll pay whatever it takes." Doc looked up. $200? No promises. Clayton laid the bills down without hesitation. They rode back through falling snow. By the time they reached the ranch, the world had gone white. Doc worked fast. Steam rose around the bed. Medicine filled the room with sharp smells. The little girl watched every move, learning, remembering. When Doc finally stepped outside with Clayton, the cold hit hard. 3 months, Doc said quietly. "Maybe 6 if we're lucky." "What does she need?" Clayton asked. "Care, warmth, and hope." Inside, the girl held her mother's hand, lips moving in silent prayer. "I'll take care of it," Clayton said. Doc studied him. "You got children?" "Had a son," Clayton said. "Lost him." Doc nodded and rode away. That night, the girl told Clayton her name was Sadie. Her mother was Anna. Sadie watched the land carefully, too carefully. "He's been coming around," she whispered later, pointing out into the snow, "asking about the ranch." A rider sat in the distance, watching. Then he disappeared. Sunday morning, Clayton took them to church. The town stared. People moved away from their pew. Whispers followed them like shadows. Outside, a woman told Clayton the bakery would no longer serve him. Sadie cried quietly in the wagon as they drove away. That afternoon, 3 riders arrived at the ranch. The man in front smiled like someone holding a secret. "Virgil Cade," he said. "We need to talk." He claimed the ranch was his. Said he bought it years earlier. Said Clayton's deed meant nothing. They would settle it in spring, Virgil said. Until then, Clayton was just a squatter. That night, someone came to the barn. By morning, the surveyor's chain was gone. Sadie looked up at Clayton, eyes hard with determination. "Then we get it back," she said. Outside, the snow froze solid again, and somewhere beyond the hills, Virgil Cade was already planning his next move. The blizzard came 3 days later. The wind howled across Two Creeks Ranch like something alive, slamming snow against the walls and rattling the shutters. Clayton stacked firewood inside until his arms ached. The world beyond the windows vanished into white nothing. Anna's fever rose that night. Clayton felt her forehead and pulled his hand back fast. She burned with heat even as the room stayed cold. "Doc," he called. "She's burning up." Doc Pike had stayed the night, sensing the storm. He moved quick, pulling out his instruments, checking her breathing, counting her pulse. 103, he said. "Lungs are fighting." Sadie knelt beside her mother, holding her hand. She did not cry. She watched. She listened. She counted breaths when Doc told her to. The night dragged on, slow and heavy. Snow screamed outside. Inside, Anna fought for every breath. Clayton fed the fire, boiled water, did anything asked of him, but most of all, he watched Sadie. She never left her mother's side. Near midnight, Anna's fever broke enough for her to speak clearly. Her voice was thin, barely there. "Mr. Mercer," she whispered. Clayton leaned close. "I'm here." "If I don't make spring," Anna said, coughing weakly, "promise you won't send Sadie on the orphan train." The words hit him hard. Sadie froze. Her eyes stayed on her mother's face, but tears slid down her cheeks. "I promise," Clayton said. "She stays with me." Anna's grip loosened. "Thank you." By dawn, the fever dropped. Not gone, but lower. Doc said she was stable for now. When the storm finally broke, the ranch sat buried and silent. That same morning, Virgil Cade rode in again. He smiled like the storm had done him a favor. He offered Clayton a deal, $8,000. What Clayton had paid for the ranch. Walk away and take his charity case with him. Clayton refused. Virgil leaned closer, voice cold. He warned Clayton about spring, about courts, about rumors already spreading in town. That night, Clayton rode into town alone. The saloon went quiet when he entered. Virgil was there. He spoke loud so everyone could hear. He offered money to anyone willing to lie, to say Clayton had threatened Anna, to say he demanded things in return for shelter. $50. Men looked away. Some looked tempted. The sheriff ended it before fists flew, but the damage was done. Clayton rode home angry and tired. Sadie was waiting at the door. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said. "I know." He wished knowing was enough. Days passed. Anna improved slowly. Good days came, then bad ones. Doc visited often. Sadie learned fast. She learned to read better. She learned the names of medicines. She learned how to listen to lungs through a doctor's tool. "She's sharp," Doc told Clayton, "smarter than most grown men." Clayton nodded. He already knew. One night, Clayton woke to sounds outside. Boots. He grabbed his rifle and slipped into the cold. Moonlight showed a figure near the barn. By the time Clayton reached it, the person was gone. Inside the barn, the nail was empty. The surveyor's chain was missing. Sadie sat up by the fire when Clayton came back inside. "He took it," she said. "The man with the smile." Clayton nodded. "He did." "Then he's scared," Sadie said. "Mama says people steal when they're scared." Valentine's Day brought another storm. Anna's fever returned hard and fast. Doc worked through the night. Sadie counted breaths again. Clayton prayed without realizing he was doing it. Before dawn, Anna spoke. "Promise me again," she said weakly. "Sadie stays with you." "I promise," Clayton said. When morning came, Anna lived. The fever eased. A week later, men from the land office arrived with papers. They inspected the ranch, measured, took notes, asked questions that felt like accusations. They noted Clayton had no chain to prove boundaries. They left smiling politely. That evening, Clayton went to the blacksmith. Sledge Morrison did not speak, but he listened. He listened as Clayton explained about the two deeds, about the seal, about the stolen chain. Sledge nodded slowly. He tapped the anvil once, then twice. Clayton understood. "Bring both deeds?" Clayton said. "You can tell." Hope sparked for the first time in weeks. The next day, Clayton went to the church with Father Mulgrew. Down in the vault, among old records, the truth waited quietly. The church books showed it clearly. The ranch had been sold to Clayton legally, no record of Virgil Cade ever owning it. Clayton felt relief and fear at the same time, because truth did not always win. That night, the church burned. Flames tore through the roof. The vault collapsed. Records turned to ash. By dawn, nothing remained but black stone and smoke. The proof was gone. Virgil smiled when he heard. Clayton did not. He knew now this was not just about land. It was about breaking him, about taking Sadie and Anna's safety piece by piece. Clayton stood at the ruins of the church and felt something change inside him. He would not walk away. He would not sell. He would fight. And he would not fight alone. The next morning, Sledge Morrison sent word, "Bring both deeds." The whole town gathered. Virgil came confident. Clayton came steady. Two deeds lay side by side on the anvil. Sledge struck the seals. One rang clear, one rang dull. Father Mulgrew explained the difference. Bronze and brass. Before and after. Truth and forgery. The crowd murmured, Virgil argued, lied fast, changed his story. Then Sadie stepped forward. She returned the surveyor's chain. She told what she saw the night of the fire. The room went quiet. For the first time, Virgil Cade looked unsure. Spring was close, and for the first time since winter began, the ground beneath Clayton Mercer felt solid again. Spring came slow to Two Creeks Ranch. The snow melted into mud. The creek broke free of ice and ran loud again. Grass pushed through the earth in thin green lines, stubborn and alive. Anna grew stronger with the days. She still coughed, still tired easily, but she could sit outside now. She could walk short distances. Doc Pike smiled more when he visited. "She's not cured," he said, "but she's winning ground." Sadie stayed close to her mother, but she laughed again. She talked to the chickens. She read every book Doc brought. She watched Clayton like she was studying how a man should be. The town waited. So did Virgil Cade. The stagecoach from Helena arrived 2 days before the land registry reopened. Clayton stood in town when the driver shouted names. He did not expect anything, but when the postmaster called his name, his heart started to pound. The envelope carried the territorial seal. Clayton opened it right there in the street. The letter was short and clear. His deed was confirmed. The date matched. The seal was correct. The records showed no sale to Virgil Cade. Worse for Virgil, the brass seal on his deed was listed as stolen government property. Clayton read it twice. Then he mounted his horse and rode straight to the sheriff. Sheriff Thompson read the letter slowly. His face hardened. "That's enough," he said. "That's more than enough." They found Virgil Cade in the saloon. He did not resist when the cuffs went on. He only smiled that thin smile one last time. "You didn't win," he told Clayton as they led him away. "You just lasted longer." Clayton watched him go. Lasting was enough. Word spread fast, faster than the fire, faster than the lies ever had. People came to Two Creeks again, not to stare, not to whisper. They came with pies, with eggs, with quiet apologies that never quite became words. Even the bakery reopened its door to Clayton. Anna stood on the porch when Clayton returned home that night. "It's over?" she asked. "It's over," he said. She closed her eyes and breathed deep. Sadie ran to him and wrapped her arms around his waist. "I knew you'd win," she said. Clayton held her tight. Weeks passed. Virgil Cade was sent away to stand trial. The land office ruled fully in Clayton's favor. Two Creeks Ranch was his, clear and legal. Anna kept getting stronger. One evening she asked Clayton to sit with her. "If I live," she said plainly, "Sadie still needs a father." Clayton listened. "I can work," Anna continued. "I can help. But she needs more than food and shelter." Clayton looked at Sadie outside, bent over a patch of dirt, planting something she hoped would grow. "I know," he said. "I won't give her away," Anna said. "But I would stand beside you if you chose each other." Clayton understood. That night, Sadie sat on the porch steps beside him. "If Mama keeps getting better," she asked quietly, "do I still get to stay?" Clayton smiled. "You ain't going anywhere," he said. She hesitated. "Can I still call you Papa?" The word caught in his chest. "Yes," he said, "if you want." She leaned against him, content. Summer came. The adoption papers were signed in May. The judge smiled when Sadie wrote her name carefully at the bottom. Anna stood beside them, tears in her eyes. Alive and standing strong. They planted an apple tree near the house, where Anna had once nearly died. Clayton wrapped his father's surveyor chain around the base. "This measured land," he told Sadie. "Now it guards family." Years later, the tree bloomed. Sadie grew tall and sharp. She read Latin books for fun. She helped Doc Pike with patients. She talked of becoming a doctor someday. Anna worked in town. She laughed easier. She breathed easier. Clayton sat on the porch most evenings watching them both. He never became richer than he already was, but he became something better. A father, a husband, a man who said yes when it mattered. And every spring, when the meadowlarks returned and sang their clear song over Two Creeks Ranch, Clayton remembered the winter that changed everything. Not because of money, not because of land, but because he opened a door and chose not to turn away.